wrong with me? What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Arwin, Neil, who else we got? Elijah, father of a stolen child, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
I'll come in 10th.
You'll come in 10th. Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot to introduce you. My bad, 10th man. And 10th man. Good to have you. I've still got the lights on when I'm looking at the screen when I'm reading off your name, so it's my bad. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Not from Nottingham. And
I-
everything from Nottingham is true.
Come on, vacuum. What do you got?
I've had a claim in my chat. I tried to explain it to him, who says that LIGO is some building with a 4-mile long thing, and yeah, when you look that up, it says that it takes into account for the curvature because of a meter. Yeah, just a meter difference in this 4-kilometer building supposedly proves that the Earth is curved, and that was his evidence.
Wow.
Well, we just found out how far a lie goes, 4 kilometers.
Right. Also, immediately after, I of course reminded him about the black swan. And he said, just one black swan doesn't mean there's no white swans.
Didn't I tell you this the other day?
You tell him, Neil. You tell him. I'll rephrase that. You tell him again, Neil. Tell him again.
Didn't I tell you this the other day? That's what they're going to say. It's only one picture. It's just an anomaly. It means they don't get the argument.
Yeah, but
correct.
Chocolate got him when he said, if the claim is all swans are white and you see one black swan, is the claim all swans are white true? And the guy said no.
Not what he asked. He asked, how many black swans do you need to disprove that all swans are white? And the guy replied, 1.
Yeah.
Aggressively, too.
Yeah. You tell him, Nathan.
Again?
How many black swans does it require to prove that white swans exist?
How many black swans does it take to prove white swans don't exist?
White swans do exist. That's not the point of the analogy. Again, you don't understand the analogy. We're not trying to disprove
Yeah,
the
but it's a
existence
shitty analogy, isn't it?
Yeah, you're just going to swear through me pointing out that we're not trying to disprove the existence of white swans? That's not the point.
Sorry, Nathan. Sorry.
The point is that if we live on a sphere, all horizons would be geometric, and they are asserted to be so in your claim of geometry. And if you don't have a geometric horizon, as we are told in rebuttal to the black swan, then you don't have a geometric horizon. You don't have geometry. Earth isn't a sphere with sphere geometry if you don't have a geometric horizon. You need me to phrase it a different way? Maybe 6 different phrasings will help you guys understand?
Phrase it more honestly, Nathan.
Honestly, you don't have a geometric horizon. The horizon's not physical, it's not Earth curve. It used to be blocking boats and buildings and is still asserted to this day to be doing so in your geometry. So if you don't have a geometric horizon, you can't do geometry. Another different way, maybe? Phrase it again? Maybe claim I'm not being honest. Excellent rebuttal, by the way.
Thanks.
Sarcastic. That was a god-awful rebuttal.
And we got your sarcasm, Nathan.
So do you have anything other than to say you're being dishonest, which is what you implied? No, I'm not being dishonest. We're told, and I
No.
quote,
No, you can continue.
so am I being dishonest as you implied or not? Was that just a little jab at me for no good reason? Lack of respect, decided to imply that I'm dishonest. What a wanker. Now let's see if you can be
Don't
honest.
swear. Come on.
Let's see if you can be honest. As you've implied I'm dishonest. Do you understand that you require a tangent point, that's geometric horizon, to do geometry? Let's see how honest you are.
To do all geometry? No.
No, sphere Earth geometry with a physical sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature, as this question is specifically about that Earth curve edge that used to block boats and buildings as clarified and then claimed to be dishonest by you. So, it seems you can't be honest. You can't acknowledge the requirement for geometric tangent points in geometry. No, can't acknowledge that. Maybe it's you that needs to address your honesty, my friend. You haven't got a geometric horizon anymore. It used to be called Earth curve, mind you. It used to block boats and buildings as well now, didn't it? Waiting for a bit of honesty.
Thanks, Nathan.
Still waiting for that honesty. You implied I was being dishonest.
Oh,
Can I have an
sorry.
honest answer?
Was there a question in all that word salad?
Yeah, there is, yeah. Are Globers honest?
Probably not all of them.
You aren't.
Sorry. It's
So how long do we have to stick here? You've claimed dishonesty, and I've just rephrased the exact same thing 4 different ways. Now you're interrupting me. We're waiting for your display of honesty. Do you understand the requirement for geometric tangent point horizons for your geometric Earth curve maths? Do you understand that or not? You can say no, yes, and say how you do understand it and maybe repeat it back so we understand that you understand it. Or you could be very dishonest and just rattle around in your own little cage, ignoring the question, based on your claim that I'm dishonest. Outrageous, by the way.
Was there a question there again, Nathan?
Are Globers honest? Then I ask the same question again. Are Globers deaf? Do they have selective hearing? I could put a different question, but are you honest?
Am I honest? Yeah, I'm honest.
Excellent. So do you understand, in all honesty, that you'd require a tangent point to do geometry?
To do geometry on a piece of...
You could phrase the question back to me, or you could say, yes, no, don't understand, yes, I understand, and paraphrase it back to me. I gave you those choices as well. Seems you're not being very honest with us.
I didn't paraphrase, I clarified.
Okay. And do you require a tangent point to do Earth curve geometry or not?
On a piece of paper, yes, you do.
What about in reality, given that it's claimed that that is our reality?
Well, in reality, we don't draw geometry in reality on, in the air. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, we do. We've had people on this show drawing out these things in the air. There's a picture on screen that's been used to do exactly that. And the Isle of Man debate went on for quite some time with people doing precisely that. It seems you're not very honest about the Earth curve calculator, claiming that that's what pictures represent. Maybe you just don't understand what your Earth curve calculator
You said in reality? You said in reality?
Yeah, this is a picture of reality on screen. And it's of, what is that now? Oh, it's an oil platform from the Black Swan. And what do you know? We have that compared to Earth curve maths. That's our reality. And yes, it's compared to your geometry. I'm asking if it's reasonable to compare the two. Are your geometric maths capable of comparison to reality, given that the horizon's not geometric and not Earth curve?
I don't know what you're talking about anymore.
Oh, right. Well, I'll tell you. It's not reasonable to assert that we have a physical blockage at the horizon because it's an Earth curve edge, as asserted in Earth curve geometry. Why isn't it reasonable? Because we've debunked the physical tangent point horizon formerly known as Earth curve. Now, if you're a dishonest glober, you'll come here and tell me that I need to phrase that more honestly. But there's no honesty required. It's a logical consistency that's been demonstrated with actual photos of a non-geometric sphere edge that's then told to us in justification as being non-physical. Even though you think, in your maths, based on what you compare to reality, you think that's Earth curve at the horizon. It isn't. We've debunked it. Seems a lack of honesty is what we're dealing with from the globe side in this regard.
So the black swan image, is that what oil rigs look like, Nathan?
Sorry, you're asking if a photo of oil rigs is what oil rigs look like? Yeah, photos of oil rigs are what oil rigs look like.
An interesting sort of comparison, isn't it, of an oil rig?
Sorry, the horizon's not about oil rigs, so you don't understand the black swan argument. Maybe you could give us the black swan argument so we can check whether or not you understand what the argument is.
No, I'm just interested. Is that
rather than interrupting me, you could listen to me and not detect that I'm now going to put you on the spot and get you to recite this claim, because you seem to think it's about oil platforms. Do you know the argument? Let's see if we can have some honesty. Do you understand the black swan argument? Could you recite it, for example? Let's see how honest you are. Yes, no, or recite it.
you want me to recite the black swan argument? I thought that was your job.
That's correct. Well, yeah, that's correct. I'm asking you to recite it.
No.
So you don't understand the argument.
No, I do. I'm just not going to.
So you can't recite it, but you do understand it. So something you cannot recite, you think you understand.
No, I didn't say I couldn't.
You seem to be stuttering. You can't recite it, but I asked if you understood it, and you said yes.
I don't think you understand basic.
You don't think I understand? What a total lack of respect. So here we are again with a complete idiot who doesn't understand the argument. He's discussing it, but he doesn't understand it. When asked if he can recite it, he says no, and then he's going to tell me I don't understand something. I understand how stupid you are.
Ad hom.
Lap it up, moron. You are thick. You're here on a show that talks about this daily, and you don't understand the argument. That's pathetic.
Default position.
Pathetic. You're another demonstration of ignorant globe belief. You don't even understand the argument. Why are you even here? Why?
It's a Friday and I want to laugh and I've got nothing else.
A laugh? So basically you've come here to disrespect us. Get the fuck out of my show. So,
basically, that's what he does.
So that's what you globeheads think you've got in the face of a black swan argument that consistently destroys your globe argument, and when you try and defend it, you bury it further, but you think you can come and laugh at us. Yeah, that's the problem. You idiots who believe in a globe still think you've got the high ground. You think that on a Friday it's okay to come and laugh at us. No. What's actually happened is just berated that guy for his stupidity. He's in a debate forum and doesn't even understand what the debate's about. But yeah, he thinks it's reasonable, because it's societally acceptable, to berate me. Nah, that's not going to happen anymore. Yeah, I'm just going to call you a dick, demonstrate how stupid you are, and kick you out. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nonsense.
Nope. Stationary.
Just realized how I might have to renege on my bet because I said 14 months before they understood, and we're in month 15 now. So yeah, I was off.
How about they're never going to understand?
Chocolate,
That's what I said. Officially, never.
Chocolate,
never
you didn't know how stupid can get, huh?
That's good, Alwyn. Then you're on point.
Yep. But I also didn't think we'd be hearing, why would we expect to see a geometric horizon? We've never seen it. Can't see it because we have an atmosphere. I didn't expect all that. So,
What about optics?
I didn't expect to be reminded of our own argument that we've had for 4 years. Yeah, I didn't expect that either.
Yeah.
So,
And if
my
you
bad,
did-
ballers.
If you heard the argument, you'd expect it to be a part of their actual mathematics. I write optics, you say. So what's this 7/6 refraction and total lack of any perspective in the maths then? Optics? Yeah, we'd expect things like the Rayleigh criterion to be in there. Why isn't it? Oh, it's because you've taken that formula and you've called it Earth curve.
Well, what's crazy about the whole thing is that we're giving it to them on a platter because we're begging their question in a logical consistency form. I mean, it's like, here it is. This is what you believe. This is what you say. Let's check it out. Then they want to fight it and say it doesn't work. Well, do you know you're saying your position on the globe doesn't work then when you do that?
Yeah, because it kills them when you put it on a platter like that. They're dead.
That's what it takes. I say you're not allowed to beg the question here. Well, obviously there's an exception to every rule. If you can present their begging the question fallacy with a logical consistency that debunks it from within the logical consistency, then you're presenting an argument that's based on them begging the question and shows how it's not workable within the real world. Totally acceptable. However, to go round and round and round in circles with them, just assuming the Earth's a sphere so they can argue back and forth about something like refraction, when often people don't appreciate that their refraction's actually based on a radius value that's now debunked, those sorts of arguments just go in circles. Black Swan, on the other hand, when you get a rebuttal, they bury the model even further. They bury the model and, well, we've got a bent line to the horizon. Oh, right, bent line to the horizon. Well, you need a tangent. That's straight. So you haven't got a tangent anymore. Well, how are you going to do geometry then? You can't.
It's a good time to read the argument, if I may. If
Yep.
P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P. If the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, P, then every horizon distance measurement must be no more than 1.225 times the square root of observer's height in feet, Q, geometric horizon. Not Q, horizon distance is greater than 9.41 miles, therefore not P. Conclusion, Earth is not a sphere.
We only have one horizon, and the horizon in the geometric mathematics for Earth curvature is physical and geometric. The horizon we see in reality is apparent and non-physical. The horizon is not Earth curve. The evidence of the distance to the sun.
It's over there.
I'd like to know what the sun is.
The evidence for the distance of the sun is over there. Just have to get there somehow.
I heard a whisper that I think it was the Chinese claimed to be going there to the sun, presumably to affirm some sort of tangibility to this item. Interesting, eh?
But weren't they going to check out the surface for colonization? And I'm not even joking. That's the freaky part about it.
Good weather all year round.
They go at night time, don't they?
Night time on the sun. How's that work?
When you say surface of this gas, Owen, what?
I don't know, man. They still have to explore it. I don't know. It seems so ridiculous. But I heard it that they were going to the sun to potentially figure out if they could use it for settling on. It's just what?
Settling.
When was this okay?
Settling like gas does, given that the entire thing is claimed to be gas, right?
I don't know how it came to this, Nathan. I really don't.
I do. It's perfect for their afternoon walk.
I don't get the pun. You'll have to break that one down for me.
They cook in WOK's cooking utensil walk.
Open walk. Brilliant. By the same token,
Wow.
Absolutely awful.
I just had to stir it up. Sorry.
That's better.
terrible. So, are we all aware that the sun in their model is a second law of thermodynamics violation also?
I don't know, but I'm hungry
What
now.
model?
Yes, we're
Heliocentric
aware of
model.
it.
Hold on, Owen. Heliocentric model. Chocolate.
Oh, that.
I recently
thing?
heard that it's a dark body or something like that, and that it can't reflect radio signals. So
That's correct.
that's not a way to detect the distance.
Black body.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's something I've only heard very recently.
Yeah, don't give too much away. Q is still waiting for somebody to fall into that little trap and assert that radio waves give us the distance.
Wait, don't give it too
Yeah,
much
'cause
weight.
that's what I
You
hear.
mean that gaseous body?
No, don't give too much away. Nobody's bitten on that little piece of bait yet. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Springs.
Oh, I was just gonna say.
Springs? You mean in
Springs.
gas
Well,
molecules?
what is gravity?
I have evidence.
Anybody want to answer him? What's gravity?
Is it weight?
I have evidence of gravity. We have gas pressure here on Earth because
Hang on.
gravity is the container.
Time for the double pun.
bending. It's the bending of a conceptual medium that has been said to be the cause of a passive displacement here on Earth.
Wait
No,
a
that's wrong.
minute. I covered the both.
No, let's just get Arwen's definition in the right order. So, the uneven distribution of mass causing the bending of space-time is the claim of current gravity. Now that, according to trench-level fundies, manifests on Earth as a force. However, it is not a force. So, while Arwen's half correct, because that is asserted, as he stated, that isn't the rhetoric. Uneven distribution of mass causing the bending of space-time is the actual rhetoric. That's what gravity actually is currently.
Well, there isn't really any official rhetoric beyond it, so the trenchers just filled it in.
Yeah,
So
they're just
that's
making
why I
up.
say it is said, because there's nothing from their side to say, no, this is how it all works. No, they just leave it like that.
But when they are, they just ignore it anyway, or they're given a disclaimer that says you don't have to necessarily take this as read. So conceptually, it's not a force. In reality, it's not a force. But you can think of it as a force. And they go, I can think of it as a force. Yeah, you can think of it as a force. And I go, you can think of it as a roast chicken. And they go, yeah, you can think of it. No, you can't think of it as a roast chicken. We think of it as a force.
Do you realize they make movies about how they don't know what gravity is, but they're going to figure it out? I think the movie was called Interstellar.
Well, there's such a
Yes,
fuzzy
that's
line
correct.
between gravity as a phenomenon and gravity as a cause.
No.
Neither are explained very clearly.
Well, yeah, they are in mathematics. In pseudo-Riemannian force space, the uneven distribution of mass causes the bending of spacetime. That's what it's described, with a cause, uneven distribution of mass being the cause, and an effect, bending of spacetime. That's the cause and effect. Now you're saying in physical terms. Well, there is no physical terms. It's pseudo-force space. It don't exist in this place. It's just mathematical. There is no conceptual medium being bent that we can experience at all. It's conceptual.
I agree, but the term gravity is being used always, sometimes in the terms of a phenomenon and other times in the terms of the cause of an effect.
Yeah, it can be whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, but I hear people say all the
Yeah.
time, hold a minute. Is that possible to hold a minute?
No, it depends how big your box is.
Oh, another container?
Depends on the context of hold a minute. Is that literally physically grasping the minute as a reification of time? Or is it holding onto something a minute long, right?
It's
Well, neither are
time.
true
It's
in-
conceptual. Just hold it.
Neither are true in physical terms, and Arwen's got... You're correct on both counts, Arwen. Neither are true. You can't physically hold a minute. It's a concept.
Well, that's the second time Arvin's right.
Epic. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Is this something we have to ponder?
Well, Dr.
What about
Becky
the
has a new
so-called
video.
expansion of the universe?
Just so-called, name only, made it up, just a story. What about it?
Wait, that man was talking about Dr. Becky.
Yeah, Dr. Becky posted a new video. I just saw it. I haven't watched it, but it's labeled, I believe, an astrophysicist watches the movie Contact.
Okay. Have you got to... See, that's not quite on topic, really. I suppose it is in a way, because it's claimed to be a dimensional travel that she does through this portal that they build a couple of. One breaks, one's kept for her to travel through to meet her father. Okay, fine.
But you can think of it as her father.
But what's that got to do with the subject? All that seems to hint at is that you've got a bit of a thing for Dr. Becky.
Astrophysicists. That's all they do. They just are conceptual, and they listen to iTunes and eat lunch and respond to email, and they get a degree. I think they're doing science. Now they're watching
Make money though.
I see. Now I see the context. What you're saying is, where Rob Ager would call that a movie review, she calls it astrophysics, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, proof.
A science review.
Science review of a fictional movie based on a loose adherence to a heliocentric reification of a philosophy. And she's going to assess that and call it science, is she? I see. That's very interesting. No, I do get your point now, 10th. I take it all back.
Does that mean if she brings up a child, that she brings up a child scientifically?
No. But that's what she might think. If she does it with a bit of maths, maybe. She brings the kid up by the numbers, then it's scientifically done, right?
By the numbers. That's a good one, Nathan. By the book.
No, numbers would be mathematically.
That's my point. Moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Thea.
Glancing
blow, Thea. They're good nighttime story. That's the only thing they got.
I don't think that's all they've got. That's just that's just the main story I disseminate in that regard. There are other stories. Other stories are available.
Yeah, they do have like at least 2 of them about the moon.
Had the moon formed, yeah, but this is specifically just there's an overlap with Thea because there's a claim that the debris from the collision of Thea coalesced through gravitational accretion into what we now call the moon, and that's why it's such a huge body and comparatively bigger than it should be compared to other satellite planets in the heliocentric model when they look at lights in the sky. But it also deposits its centre because of the glancing blow. So we end up with an oversized molten iron core. So there's an overlap between how the moon is created and how we have an oversized molten iron core that should have, by their timeline, cooled down. Well, why hasn't it cooled down? Well, because Thea smashed into Earth, didn't it? Did it? Yeah, we made it up ourselves. Now the timeline makes sense.
Was Thea going at magic speed?
It went at a magic angle. It caught at just the right angle to not destroy Earth completely, but also leave a large enough core for us to develop life. If it wasn't for Thea, none of us would be here. We've got a lot to be grateful for, really.
Well, if it's a molten iron core and they couldn't get the 8-mile super borehole in Russia somewhere, they can even get those different levels right. How do they know that it's a molten iron core almost 4,000 miles away from the 8-mile hole?
They don't.
So they're guessing.
Guessing? They're just making it up.
Well,
Even
some guy
better.
told me it's like doing a sonogram on the Earth.
Any more for any more? Neil wants to go into P waves and S rays. I'm happy to pull it apart. If not, any evidence of the R
that's
value?
what they told me.
They told you a lot of things, Neil.
I still don't know how that would prove a molten iron core, though.
Doesn't. They haven't. It won't. We haven't. Most we've had on the molten iron core in a long time.
I've been wondering why the core would be dense at all.
What core?
Because at the core, the majority of mass is away in every direction away from you. So it'd be like zero gravity type effect at the center.
What's gravity? What
Nathan
core?
took the words right out of my mouth. He's gonna say, what core again?
Yeah, I know.
What?
He's speaking as a heliocentrist right now.
What's that?
I don't know. I made the word up.
Heliocentrist. I don't know if that is or isn't a word. I'll have to look in the subtitles after this goes out live. So R value, any evidence thereof?
I was just going to do it.
I'll do a little blessing. Radius Dominus, Gravitus Spiritus Sanctus Arwin. Go in peace, in R you trust.
Not no more.
Shouldn't we say like rest in peace to R or something like that? Should we switch it up? Because they don't have R to trust anymore anyway.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. Do need to rephrase it because you can't actually trust in R anymore. That was only relevant when we pointed out that it's a begging the question fallacy. And they went, well, we already know it's a sphere, so it's perfectly acceptable to assume we've got a tangent point that we can get R from. Okay.
Yeah,
So in R you trust. But now, in R you trust, what? They trust in a tangent point horizon that they haven't got? You can't really trust in that, unfortunately.
it's perfect. RIP, R.I.P., rest in peace, and it's ripped.
We'll figure it out with a new blessing. Actually, I don't know. I don't want to bless them anymore. I want to tell them off. Like the guy earlier, Vacuum, right? They come into the show, and why are you here? Well, I want to laugh at you. So you've got absolutely no respect for us. In spite of the fact that we've got the winning argument and the high ground, and the debate has been settled, there is no geometric spheroid horizon, we're not spinning the Coriolis effect, and the sky is not a vacuum. The argument's over, but yet people still think they can come and ridicule us. You know, we are treated like dirt in societal terms. It's disgusting. And this needs to be addressed. If you're a transgender, you can go on your YouTube channel, like Joe Goes, and come out to the world about how you're all fearful, knowing full well that you've got the backing of governments and society, and if you are ridiculed, the person who ridicules you will be punished. Here, why are you here? Just to ridicule you, even though I don't understand any of the arguments and I'm thick. Yeah, that's not acceptable.
You don't need to bless him anymore because you don't give a rip. So I think the rip way is the best way.
Exactly. You'll have a better time coming out as a transgender in society than you will as a flat earther. Well, the Earth is obviously and observably flat. There is no demonstrable drop. Google Earth proves that. Go and have a look. No drop, no 8 inches per mile squared, based on a formula that's been debunked with the Black Swan. The whole assertion that we're on a sphere is complete nonsense. Yet it's justified that we get ridiculed? No, it isn't.
Okay, that's it. I'm going to identify.
We don't
as
even have a
flat earther.
geometric horizon for boats to disappear behind, as per their concessions now. But yet we're still being ridiculed. Like you guys are saying that shit, not us. We said if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, then you'd have this thing, because that's what you claim to have.
The
And then you tell us we're strawmanning you? What?
The thing is, though,
it's crazy.
It works both ways, Chocolate. In other words, if it's deemed societally acceptable in this arena for that level of ridicule, then it works both ways. Hence, I get away with it when it's directed in their direction. Now, they don't like it. And often they'll go away crying to their mummies when it happens to them. Because they're used to being in a society that protects them when they do it. But when it comes back in their direction, they cry. And that's what's going to be happening from now on. Because it's what deemed acceptable that I can be absolutely heinous to an opponent that just simply won't accept that they're wrong in a debate. Shouldn't be acceptable that I can get away with it. But it's deemed acceptable in this arena. Well, I'm in this arena. Does it matter that I'm not a globe believer? Nah, not at all. I can just demonstrate the exact same vitriol right back at them until someone says, hang on, this isn't reasonable. What we've had to put up with for 5 years. Yeah, you're right, it's not. It just gets highlighted when it's coming back in the globe's direction rather than aimed at us, which is deemed societally acceptable. No, not acceptable in any other arena anywhere. By any normal societal standards, the treatment flat earthers receive is abhorrent. But they're just flat earthers, right? No, just people like anybody else, just people who've woken up to the obvious and observable nature of our reality, and then set about debunking the claims that are ludicrous that we're on a sphere. So that means we deserve ridicule, does it? Because you're all still part of that religion? That just makes you a cult, globe believers. A cult that attacks anybody that tries to get away.
So, Nathan, if I identify as a flat earther, will I have equal protection?
No. No, you open yourself up like a ginger in Britain. If you're a ginger-headed person in Britain, you're allowed to be poked fun at. Not a great comparison, but worthy of a laugh. For any ginger nuts out there in the UK, it's not your fault.
Yeah, but gingers don't have souls.
Let's not launch into some of them because they can border, straight to the edge. I love it.
Damn.
Straight to the edge.
I didn't know it was that real.
Right, let's not have a string of ginger jokes.
Yeah, it's a crummy argument. Isn't it?
Excellent. Anyway, on a serious note, if you were, and I don't think it's possible, neutral, you would look in on this and go, wow, wow, how the hell is that allowed to be tolerated? But people don't. They go, yeah, they're complete idiots. You're like, what, us with the logical consistency in the debunkings of a sphere that's no longer tenable in any way, shape or form, geometrically debunked? I don't think we're in the position that you should be ridiculing us. But as it's acceptable, we'll start ridiculing you and pointing out how stupid you are and how little you know about these arguments that we've had to learn like the back of our hand, because if we put a comma wrong, suddenly we're allowed to be ridiculed even more. Yeah, that's how it actually stands. But yeah, you guys can come here, chat complete nonsense, and still feel at the end of it, when it's been corrected, that you've got the right to, ridicule us some more? No.
I feel you. I mean, it's like, it should have stopped at water's level. But, they made us, well, maybe not made us, but I would say they made us fucking take years of research, excuse my language. And so now that we've done it, you still gonna piss on my face? No, F you now.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what this platform is. This is what it was developed for. It's a debating platform. Now, I don't set the societal standards around me, now do I? Yeah, if those weapons are on the battleground, my encouragement, metaphorically, these weapons are weapons of debate, pick them up and use them. Why not? So it's acceptable in this arena for us to absolutely berate, or be absolutely berated, if we get something perceived to be wrong in your reification model. And if we don't understand that that's what's happened, you'll continue to ridicule even though you're incorrect. And when we point out how it's a reification and incorrect, for some strange reason you think you've still got the high ground and can ridicule us anyway. Well, no. What will happen is that'll get highlighted, it'll get pointed out to the point the audience understand that there's not a concession coming or any humility coming, and then the ridicule will start by flat earthers aimed at globers. With justified cause. And the standard, well, that's a societal standard, and I'm saying it should change, and until it does, that standard's going to be fired back at the globe believers. It's acceptable, right? No, but that's the way it is.
All day.
They defend it like they're defending their pride and their own self-identity.
Let's get them.
Well, it is their identity. That's why when they straw man us, they choose to think that that's our identity. And when I'm saying, hey, no, I'm an individual, here's my argument, they'll just reword what I say and then pretend that I've said that instead. I mean, that grinds my gears.
One more housekeeping question. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre? No, we've had that. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container?
Now, this is
Still
the
waiting.
best argument I think there is. Yeah, absolutely not possible. You could never even develop an atmosphere to begin with.
Spot on. Exactly. No? Nobody want to present 2 containers as an evidence of gas pressure without a container? Any takers?
3.
3 containers? Any advance on 3
4.
containers?
What? Anybody got more than 4? 4, and it's 4. So,
We're going once,
4
going
containers.
twice.
Gas pressure without a container sold for 4 containers.
Yep.
Chocolate, proud
Good
owner
price.
of containerless gas using only 4 containers.
Only 4, yep.
I think that's it. That concludes the housekeeping. Excellent. In good time too. 40 minutes into the live show. Nice, even coverage of housekeeping questions.
Hey, Nathan, I've got a few slides I picked up from the internet, and this is the ballers saying the Foucault pendulum, Earth rotating. Give me a minute. I'd like to put it up and get the panel's view on what they're saying.
Sure. No
Okay,
problem.
I'll let you know.
Okay, no problem. Normally the point where I'd get farther of a... Oh, just came off mute by the pure coincidence. What were you going to say? John, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I actually thought of a globe benefit from, I listened to the show like 2 weeks ago about the globe benefits. I have one.
Well, by all means.
Well, if you think about like just the nastiness aimed at flat earthers, just how horrible people can be, maybe it's a good thing that there's a religion that keeps them contained where they're at.
So what you're saying is, if for the sake of argument, it was on the news tomorrow, yeah, actually, Earth flat, then these particular types of individuals are nice and contained within a heliocentric framework, i.e. religion. So you can kind of separate them from the rest of society when they move on. Is that what you're saying? That's a fringe benefit? Well, you're all in a nice group now. There you go. You're all bloody heliocentrists.
Well, no, like the sociopaths rise to power, you know, like we haven't really got the best kind of governments or things like that, you know, like maybe heliocentrism is the best thing for humanity because it keeps it from spreading out.
My God, that's dark. Well, thank you for that.
I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, it's up on screen. Earth's rotation and revolution, right?
Yeah, so here's a slide with the title. Next one, Earth's rotation causes daily changes. The spinning of Earth on its axis, the imaginary line through the planet from the North Pole to the South Pole, is its rotation. The axis of the Earth is tilted 23.5 degrees from a line perpendicular to the plane of its orbit of the Sun. Next, please. Earth's rotation. As the Earth revolves around the Sun, Earth's axis remains tilted at 23.5 degrees. The north end of the axis points towards the North Star Polaris. Earth rotates 360 degrees from west to east, counterclockwise, looking down from the North Pole in 24 hours at an angular rate of 15 degrees per hour. 360 to 24 hours is 15 degrees per hour. Next slide. Tilt the axis always stays the same. Okay. Next one. Evidence of Earth's rotation. So this is what we've been asking for, right? Ballers. Now we just read your stuff. Now here comes the evidence. 1851, Foucault's pendulum will appear to change in a predictable way. Why is this evidence? There is no force acting on the pendulum to make its plane of oscillation rotate or go around its own axis. It would continue to swing in the original path if Earth did not rotate. Next. Then they showed this image. No force that makes a pendulum rotate must be the Earth that is rotating. Isn't this what we're always asking them? Does the Earth rotate underneath? And they have a hard time. So here they're admitting If it's not a force, it's got to be the Earth rotating. The next one is a pictorial of the Foucault pendulum. Next one, evidence of rotation or for rotation. Coriolis effect, the tendency of objects moving over the Earth, here we go, air, water, planes, projectiles, to be deflected, curve away from a straight line path. The French scientist Gaspard Coriolis first explained the deflection of objects moving over the surface due to Earth's rotation. The deflection is to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This deflection occurs because Earth's surface is rotating with respect to the objects. And I think two more. And here's an image of them trying to misrepresent Coriolis in the north and the southern hemisphere. And then the last one, the same thing, showing more like their hurricane argument. So interesting how they admit that it's Earth's rotation, right? And they say that it's the tendency of objects moving over the Earth, and in parentheses, are air, water, planes, and projectiles. How come they fight us on the planes when the planes prove there is no Earth-based Coriolis?
Because it's shrouded in doublespeak, but you're precisely right to use Foucault, and I use it for the same exact reason. The Foucault pendulum's moving backwards and forwards. Why does it knock over the dominoes? Well, because Earth's claimed to rotate underneath. It's not the pendulum that's moving off its course, it's Earth turning underneath that caused an apparent deflection. It's Coriolis. Well, that's what's being asserted. Earth turns underneath. Now, in these examples, you'll often find that they'll say, well, yeah, everything that's not the Earth turning is going to be deflected, even the air. That means that Earth's turning underneath it. Well, that's Earth turning underneath planes. Very clear. But if Earth's turning under planes, as it's claimed to, then they'd have their flight time shortened, and drones would drift away on the equator 1,000 miles an hour. That doesn't happen. So why do they say, well, they move together and defy the claim that Foucault's making? Well, because it doesn't happen. Nothing's drifting. This is a parlor trick.
Yeah, I think it was Elijah or somebody the other day talked about the person in Canada at the college that every day would go and by hand have to start it. It doesn't start on its own. And then there's these mechanical boxes on the top with gears and motors. So it's a total magician's trick.
Yeah, it's a parlor trick. But the assertion this parlor trick makes is that Earth turns underneath. The pendulum. Pendulum's moving backwards and forwards. Well, why is it knocking over the dominoes? Well, because Earth's turning underneath it. That's Coriolis deviation. It only looks like it's moving off its back and forth path because Earth is claimed to turn beneath it. Well, if Earth turns beneath this pendulum to cause it to seem to drift and knock dominoes over, and Earth turns under a gyroscope to cause it to drift at 15 degrees an hour, then Earth turns underneath aeroplanes, hot air balloons, helicopters, or anything else that's left the claim to be non-inertial turning reference frame of an Earth that spins, and it would drift away. Not because drones can fly at 1,000 miles an hour, because it's claimed you're turning underneath the drone, and you go, oh no, my drone, it's going away 1,000 miles. That doesn't happen. Oh, I've arrived in only an hour and a half when travelling from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles, because Earth turned beneath me, to cause the effect of someone on the ground looking up and seeing me seem to curve off my path in the plane. Well, the guy beneath me is observing and not actual deflection because it's claimed Earth turned underneath the plane, and that's what shortened the flight time to an hour and a half, from 4.5 hours. Said nobody ever, because it doesn't happen.
We got any updates from any football coaches out there willing to throw that Coriolis calculation into their playbook? Like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, that makes it sound so easy that I don't know why every football coach in the world is not scrambling for this. Well, every game or every sport that involves a ball leaving the ground. I mean, you would think this is detrimental.
On it.
You would think this is crucial.
Yeah. And the bookies will look at wind direction on the day, but they won't take an overriding factor of the stadium direction based on Coriolis. That would be the ultimate overriding factor always. But no, the bookies will look at the weather and figure out which way the wind might be blowing to assist the ball. And then they'll change their odds based on that. Not based on Coriolis effect, which should always be occurring, but we never observe. It's only asserted to happen in balls when Neil deGrasse Tyson's watching. Then nobody else ever pays attention to it because it doesn't happen.
Do you remember the guy who put up the picture of the multiple cranes that they used to build high-rise buildings, and it was at the end of the day, and they've got the cable stretched out and the part with the hook, and it's perfectly still, and there's like multiple cranes. They're not swaying at all. And if the Earth was rotating the way they said, and if that's the cause of the Foucault pendulum, how come those cranes aren't experiencing the natural Foucault pendulum that they would have to if the Foucault pendulum was moving because the Earth was rotating?
Correct. They'd start moving. They don't, because Earth's not turning underneath. We're not moving. It's completely nonsensical to even assert it as an effect we observe, because we don't observe Coriolis deviation, as asserted Earth that turns would give you. So it's asserted we have Coriolis deviation, that's 15 degrees an hour deviation of things in the inertial reference frame observed from the non-inertial claim to be spinning Earth beneath them. We don't observe that effect. It is that simple. There is no Earth-based Coriolis effect. Coriolis effect itself is easy to observe. Get on a roundabout and look at anything that's not spinning with you, and it'll look like it's moving. Well, that's Coriolis deviation. Look at a tree as you spin around on a roundabout. Oh, the tree's coming towards me. Oh, it's gone past me. Oh, it's coming towards me. It's gone past me. That's Coriolis effect. The tree's not actually moving. You're moving. And the effect of it looking like it's moving, when it's actually got roots in the ground, that's Coriolis deflection. And not actual deflection, not actual drift. The thing's stationary in this example, but you're turning beneath it to cause it to seem to drift. And likewise, if you were beneath a plane and you looked up at it and we were turning beneath it on a spinning Earth, it would look like it's curving off its route. Now, in the plane itself, the plane's just moving straight. They don't need a Coriolis detector. Because the guy on the ground looking like it's seeming to drift, who cares? But what it would do is shorten flights when travelling west. Because Earth would be turning beneath the plane, shortening the distance, increasing the velocity of the plane, and shortening the time. So the duration, calculated with Earth turning beneath it from Charlotte, North Carolina, to Los Angeles, would be an hour and a half. But it's not. It's 4.5 hours. Now, some idiots on the globe side, people who will be berated in future when they come here, and don't concede that they don't understand why the Earth isn't a sphere after it's detailed to them, they'll assert that you get the opposite effect with a shortened time. Oh, well, this plane going east has got a shortened flight time. I'll hand over to Chocolate at this point, because he's the one who tends to deal with this, having worked in airports, and tends to bellow with laughter when these examples come out.
Yeah, because the flight time towards the west should be the one that decreases. But usually the flight time from west to east is actually shorter than the flight time from east to west. Well, how does that work if the ground underneath you is traveling from west to east?
They're correct for Coriolis.
It's the wrong way. It's going the other way.
Yeah,
If they're
the wrong
claiming
way.
Earth's turning, it's going the other direction. But yet they'll claim, oh, well, this eastbound flight's got a shorter flight time, proving Earth's spinning. No, you idiot. It's the other way.
I got a picture for you for the cranes that you could post.
Okay. It's just a picture of cranes, but yeah. As
Yeah,
we've
they
talked
should be
about
moving,
cranes,
right?
there's
If the
nothing wrong
Earth
with
is
that.
turning.
There we go. There's some cranes. Thank you very much. Everyone
I
cool?
think I'm going to be fair to a baller then in their claim for it to exhibit the motion or the deflection, the apparent deflection. It would require the cranes to be acting in a pendulum motion, taking them out of the reference frame.
Yeah, but what I'm asserting is that they would start moving if, for example, if you had an equivalent smaller crane or just a pendulum attached to a roundabout, yeah, and you spin the roundabout, what's going to happen to the pendulum, Adam?
Well, I suppose technically, if the bearing at the top's frictionless free, then things sat there, so it should rotate around it, shouldn't it? So what you should appear to see is the ball weight twist throughout the day.
Sorry, I should be a bit more clear. Like the cranes, in my example, you've just got a smaller version of a crane on a roundabout, and it's not moving. It's not moving back and forth. But then you spin the roundabout.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
What happens to the?
But you'd expect the crane to
start moving.
Lateral, translation of it, of that force.
Yeah.
Onto it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you wouldn't, if you're on a moving, rotating platform, you don't end up with this. You don't end up with this completely stationary. It should start moving like a pendulum.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right, but it's not because we're not moving beneath anything.
Yeah, but you should also see the rotation underneath, and you don't because it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. This has been the first enjoyable Coriolis show for a long while. Do you know what I mean? Actually talking about these things that often, or at least say 4 or 5 years ago, I'd see people describing them, but they didn't have a full understanding of what Coriolis was, how it was being claimed, how it was defended, how to overcome the defense of it on the globe side, how the contradictions work. People would just say, well, surely a pendulum would just start moving, then you'd never have one stationary. And it's like, the pendulum's not that useful for that claim. It's an interesting side note, but it's more interesting to use their claim in the affirmative against them. I.e., they say Earth turns underneath the pendulum. It's Coriolis effect. So that's an affirmation where in the arena, they'll actually try and work their way around the claim they've got Coriolis effect. So this holds them to their own claim. Because we don't see the effect, they end up arguing about why we don't see the effect, rather than demonstrating we do have it. So pendulum's great. Well, the pendulum in Foucault's example is an example of Coriolis with Earth turning beneath it. So that's the claim. Let's get it straight. You claim Earth turns underneath as a non-inertial turning reference frame. Well, that's your claim. Not, it won't deviate because, which is what we end up arguing about. It just holds them to their own claim, basically.
It's just like the black swan modus tollens in a sense. We read back their version of what it's supposed to be, and they get destroyed with reality. And here on that one slide, that when it was Coriolis effect, they included air. So the air is not moving with the Earth. You're supposed to have a Coriolis effect of the air. And yet when the trolls come here and argue, they can't handle the position they hold because it doesn't vet out in reality. So they start making stuff up like the air is moving with the Earth.
Well, it's interesting you say...
Not only...
Go on.
Who was first?
No, go on.
Not only are they religious, but it's almost like they don't know their religion. So when you word it to them, they're like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You know? It's like, the fuck?
I mean, I was going to say to 10th, it's interesting you should say it sounds a bit like the Black Swan, because it was originally Quantum Eraser that turned me on to the idea of using the pendulum as an affirmation of their claim in the affirmative, because they always fight against their own claim and try and justify why we don't have drift. Well, if we're going to try and debunk the claim that Earth turns underneath and they immediately deny it because it doesn't happen, then you're in a deadlock, which is what happened for a number of years. But then you reach a point where you say, no, we can actually now tie you to your claim of Earth turning underneath. And in that regard, even Bob Nodell helped. When people go, thanks, Bob, 15 degrees an hour drift. Yeah, that's because Earth is claimed to turn underneath. That's what was claimed with the gyroscope and the pendulum, but doesn't manifest in the plane or the helicopter or the hot air balloon, because we don't have Earth turning underneath, even though it's claimed with these gadgets and gizmos, i.e. they're parlour tricks, not actual demonstrations of natural phenomena. And if you ask for natural phenomena, it can't be shown, because it doesn't happen. And you'll get into the wrangle-dangle of them defending the lack of drift when they claim that there's 15 degrees of it. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Below this video, there is also a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!